This is the module overview for week 4 of IDT693A, spring 2018. I'm making certain assumptions as you begin module 4. I'm assuming you've completed module 3, which means, among other things, that you have your own course learning outcomes in final form, since by now you have gotten some feedback from me and implemented any changes you needed to put in place. I'm assuming that you have figured out how you propose to determine whether students have achieved those desired outcomes, that is, your methods of assessment, and you've turned that information into me for some feedback. We'll be using that shortly. I'm assuming that you've been spending some time in your eCampus instructor shell, and you're getting comfortable with moving around in there and general eCampus navigation. The initial JWC readings for week 4 are the last in the information processing section. That is the largest section we'll look at, and after we finish this one, we'll move on to social models of teaching. In this particular case, they deal with two things. One is synectics, which may be of use to you if creativity is involved in one or more of your course learning outcomes, and advanced organizers, which you may want to use if you're considering some permutation of lectures online. You've already started to make the explicit connection between your course learning outcomes and your assessment methods, which begins the backward design process. Very shortly, you'll be moving on to determine what kinds of learning activities you plan to use to help students achieve those outcomes successfully. Go ahead and start thinking about that now, and we'll get to it very soon. Our single chapter from Code this week deals with how one might divide up an online class into areas and what sort of content one might place in those areas. Pay particular attention to the dividing up part. As you've noticed, I choose to use weekly modules. You could do that, or you could opt for some other kind of division and pacing, such as one built around major topics in your discipline. Code provides numerous different content examples. Notice the ones that appeal particularly to you, and we'll gradually explore eCampus methods for using these over the next few weeks, starting with the simplest this week. Our eCampus hands-on this week has you beginning to use the content editor to modify existing material in your shell, then moving on to define 2 new areas and build content in those areas. We'll ultimately delete these practice items in these areas, but they're a good place to start trying things out without seriously modifying the existing template structure. We close this module with a discussion covering all of these things. Once you've posted to the discussion and also reacted to your classmates' postings, you're finished with the 4th week's module. If it's still early in the week, you should revisit the discussion to view and comment on the work of classmates who may be posting later in the week. Then it's on to module 5, which will become available to you at midnight on Saturday.